For our first story, we have Update Mike, 28 male, husband, 27 male, just came out as straight. Thank you to everyone who gave me genuine advice on my last post. I'll quickly answer some common questions. No, he does not have a family history of bipolar disorder or any other mental health disorder that would cause sharp changes. No, he isn't cheating on me with one of his church friends, but I will get more into this later. No, he isn't bi. I'm bi, and we've had conversations, and he said he experimented in high school but it wasn't for him. I talked to his family and our friends about the whole thing. I explained we were separating because of his newfound faith and how he's acting. I told them about the shit he said and they're all worried for me. I don't think that I'm in any sort of danger, honestly. I did talk to my church about this, and they told me that the church he's attending is notorious for this sort of thing. One of them will show up after a service and wait outside, and if someone is walking out alone they'll come up to them and start chatting. They'll pretend they go here until they've talked to the person enough times to invite them to their church. Apparently he was attending my church even on days where I wasn't, so he was alone a lot. It's really fucking predatory and it low-key pisses me off that he was enjoying my church and it led to him being taken away from me. I've had limited contact with him in the past few days. He came over last night, saying he needed to talk to me. He didn't appreciate me contacting his parents, and assured me that he is fine mentally. I wanted to start asking all the questions I've come up with since he left, but I didn't want to overwhelm him. I know he didn't cheat on me because that was the first question I asked. More so, are you leaving me because there's somebody else? His response was that he didn't want to leave me, but living in sin wasn't what he wanted anymore. How did he figure this out, you ask? After grilling him for an explanation, he finally admitted that he tried to cheat. The guy who kept coming to my church and basically recruited him was apparently so attractive that he would listen to anything he said. So he tried to cheat, failed, and went the full 180 and has decided being gay is the ultimate sin. Not the fact that he tried to have an affair. This is actually going to drive me crazy. Finding out he wanted to cheat but didn't is almost worse, because it's like, seriously? You tried and got rejected? That's embarrassing as shit for you, and doubly embarrassing for me. I asked him if they knew he was married to a man, and he simply told them I was his gay roommate who turned him, and now that he's straight again, I've gone off the deep end. He's an actual fucking liar. He showed me some Bible verses, ones that were just blatantly different from the ones in mine, and kept trying to convince me that I need to change too. He said that he still cares about me, and wants to be friends. I asked him what about our actual friends, and he said they're too far gone. He just kept talking and I was done with it. He isn't the man I fell in love with and it pisses me off. He wasn't even dressing the same anymore. Fucking white dress shirt and slacks and the most boring hairstyle ever. He didn't look like my Anthony. The more he talked at me, the more it was clear I didn't want to be with the man he is now. He left, and for the second time in our life, he walked out that door without saying I love you, and I was fine with that. This morning I talked with my lawyer and I am going through with a divorce. After I was done, I stopped by where he was staying and knocked on the door, half wanting whoever owned the place to be there when I gave him the papers, half because I didn't want him coming to my home anymore. When the man opened the door I realized this is who he was talking about, and it took a bit to keep my anger in. I asked for my husband, and when he saw me, the look in his eyes made it clear that he wasn't expecting this out of me. I made it clear to the other guy that I was handing my husband, gay husband, divorce papers, to end our marriage, the gay one between two men. Us, we're those two men. Because I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you wake up next to a man for 3 years out of your life, chances are you are a homosexual. So sorry to break it to you. I won't be able to go into details of the proceedings themselves, but I'm going to completely distance myself from him as best I can. His actions have been horrible on my health, and his family and friends can handle him better than I can. I'm going to miss the man he used to be, but I have my people surrounding me. I'm going to be okay. I hope for his sake he'll snap out of this one day, because the self-hatred isn't healthy, but when he does I won't fucking be there. That's the end of our first post. Let's see what the commenters had to say. Our first commenter says, OP, as the trope goes, no one is more zealous than a convert. You may have known people who quit smoking or drinking and suddenly become super judgy about others doing those things. So for him it's this religion thing. and presumably some of the guilt that might come with it if he's not attending a more inclusive church. Which is a thing that exists and probably should be where you're attending services. It's unfortunate that this is where he's at, but if he's going through with the divorce, it's in your best interest to get that over with and move on. It's not easy, but you can do this. The sooner you get your mind around the marriage being over, the faster you'll be on the road to recovery. So sorry this happened to you. Our second commenter says, I am so sorry that you are going through this. Reading your first post, I was so angry for you, and this post just broke my heart. I wish you nothing but joy and happiness. I know these words may get lost in the void and won't take away your pain. I still wish I could reach through and give you a hug, and I'm not even close to a hugger. Our third commenter says, he is not straight. He's going to marry some dumb church lady and hit up Grindr like the rest of the hypocrites. So glad you got your side of the story out there, because he's painting you as a villain in his. So on brand for these cults. My condolences. Better is out there waiting for you. For our second story, we have Ike, female 32. Just found out my husband, male 33, has been having a FD up affair? Dynamic? Whatever it is, it's cheating, with the mom of our child's best friend. How do I stay calm before going nuclear? Previous post. So, I can't believe the attention my last post was getting, and I'm still getting so many DMs from people who have been through similar with great advice, and asking for updates. Thank you to everyone who shared their experiences. I felt so alone this past week, and it's really helped hearing how people have managed to come out of something like this in a positive way. Seriously, thank you. The night I made my post, I managed to get his phone and was much more thorough in my digging, by using the word search on there. Concluded that this has happened a lot. And that it looks like they have actually had full-on sex and had been for a while, before turning into this. Both in our house, and theirs. No protection. No holes barred. All sorts of kinks indulged. A read that completely broke me. I took as many photos of the messages as I could. I also used the screen record on my phone for the puppy cam on Friday and have been this week as well. I haven't been watching, so I am not sure if I am actually catching anything, but I don't want to see that again. I contacted a lawyer on the Friday and couldn't get a full sit down with him until yesterday. The way he put it across, filing seems much more straightforward than I worried it was going to be. We have joint ownership of the house we live in, and another 2 properties which I am going to suggest he take one of. Infidelity doesn't seem to impact the actual outcome at all. I am still keeping all the proof though. And I'm not getting in trouble for keeping the camera recordings, as I was recording in my own property, out of my own concern, for all the lawyers on here. I've got probably about a week before you will find out, and I am still unsure how I am going to make it go down. In an ideal world, he gets the papers, bags packed, and out he goes, making this as easy as can be. There's a niggle in me telling me to hear what he has to say, but I know it would be best if he just leaves before getting a chance to try and pull me back in. I've made my decision, and I just want it over and done with. This has been the most exhausting week of my life. I really don't know what I am going to do about her husband. As I mentioned in my previous post, he's away a lot with work. Other than his name, I don't know much about him or what he actually does in the army. He's not on social media from what I could find. The only info I have came from her, so could need a pinch of salt. That he's doing exercises somewhere in Bucharest, that it's something to do with Trump in office, so they really don't know how long they will need to be there. But while they are there, they are not allowed mobile phones because Russia can track them. So every few weeks they go back to a base where they can get their phones and call family, etc. Even if I did get his contact info, I don't really want to tell him all of this for him to be stuck thousands of miles away, unable to do anything. Still trying to think of a way around this, but it doesn't look like it will be easy. I vaguely remember her saying early April he would be home for a week or so, but that feels like it's years away. Any help here would be amazing, as I have no idea where to start. For everyone saying it's amazing I'm so calm, I'm not. I haven't been able to eat. I feel sick constantly. My mind is always going 1000%. I haven't been able to sleep. Can't concentrate at work. It's taking everything in me to not have a complete meltdown. I go from one extreme to the other with anger and sadness, and I don't know how to be with him. I've managed to dodge him a lot by saying I feel really ill and just need bed, and he hasn't bothered me. Just hoping someone will burst in and hold one of these pillows over my face. I won't fight it. I've seen her a couple of times passing the house and again, don't really know what to do other than put on a smile and wave with my heart pounding out my chest. I really just wish that if he was bored of me or my body, that he would have just said that instead of doing this. There is a lot of anger for the way my marriage is ending, but I am also really sad and feel so alone. I am so embarrassed I still don't feel up to telling any family or friends. I thought we had a really good life together. We were high school sweethearts, together for 16 years. And it's all gone without me being aware it was even slipping away. It feels impossible to rebuild a life at this stage, but I know I'll get there eventually. And that's all there really is to tell at this point. This will probably be the last post from me. But again, thank you to those sharing their stories. It's pushing me to do the right thing. I will try to reply more to people on this one. I couldn't keep up with the comments on the last one, but I did read them all. That's the end of our second post. Let's see what the commenters had to say. Our first commenter says, I read your original post and was so disgusted with what your husband was doing. He imploded his own life and will regret it. Do you care to speak to the owl? You are very strong and I hope you are able to find peace after this. Update me. Our second commenter says, I'm so sorry. I hate to add on, but have you made an APPT for STD screening? Our third commenter says, it is mind-boggling someone could throw aside a happy life for lust. Hoping you get through this OP. I don't have advice, but to keep your head up for your child's sake, but most importantly yours. There is no shame in being cheated on, as you did nothing wrong nor anything to warrant his vile actions. Let the evidence be a reason for you to not take his sorry ass back post-divorce. Update me. For our last story, we have, my 33 male wife 30 female is upset about the fact that I picked her and our daughter over my mother in a medical emergency. I think she's being ridiculous, but she's acting like I betrayed her. Help? My brother-in-law directed me here since y'all give advice apparently. Appreciate y'all in advance. My wife and I have had the hypothetical who would you pick conversations in all 3 of her pregnancies, but I never thought it'd be a real-life choice until 2 days ago when my wife went into labor with our daughter and my mother fainted and hit her head badly at my sister's house. We were already on our way to the hospital after dropping off our boys at my mother-in-law's house when my sister called and told me that my mother fainted, and it was bad. I then told my sister that my wife was in labor. My wife has asked me why I was suddenly shaken, but I brushed it off, not wanting to stress her. Luckily, all went well with her labor and our daughter was born healthy. Once everyone was settled, I told my wife what had happened and that mom was relatively okay. Turns out the blood made it look worse than it was. And I told her that I was going to visit her and bring her back food. When I came back, my wife asked about my mother, and I updated her, and then she said that I really did pick her. I told that of course I did. My mother had my sister and brother, and besides that, she needed me, and I wasn't missing the birth of our daughter. Apparently, that was the wrong thing to say since she looked at me weird and asked what our daughter had to do with it, and I got confused but told her that I wasn't missing our daughter's first breaths or her being born. Just like I didn't miss those things with our 2 boys. Then she got this sad look on her face and said that I didn't really pick her then, I picked our daughter, and she came with proxy. I told her that it's not the case, I picked both of them, especially since we wouldn't have any of our kids without her, but she's been sad, crying often, and looks at me like I betrayed her. I get that her body is going through some massive changes I wouldn't even begin to understand, but she was never this emotional or sensitive after our boys' births. Is it hormones? Is it because it's a girl and our last? Is it because she's a girl and she feels that I'll care for our daughter more than her? I'm honestly lost. Help, please? That's the end of our last post. Let's see what the commenters had to say. Our first commenter says, she's freshly postpartum and her feelings might not even make sense to her. Don't overthink it, you made the right choice. Our second commenter says, I think she just wants validation that you wouldn't have left her to go through labor alone and it wasn't just about your daughter. She's postpartum and the hormones are insane. I can still think about a moment after my daughter was born 2 days after that brought me to hysterics. I know it was ridiculous and 7 years later it still brings tears to my eyes. Our third commenter says, I think one of your comments might, depends on what's actually going on with her, be right at the heart of the issue. I picked both of them, especially since we wouldn't have any of our kids without her. She literally just expressed to you that she was upset because she believed you were only seeing her, choosing her as a proxy for your daughter, and you then described her, not as the love of your life or a person in her own right that you couldn't live without, but as a value because she had produced your children. This is what women are talking about, albeit it's often shown in far more extreme ways. When they say they are treated as incubators, or not allowed an identity beyond that of mother or what they do for others. It's dehumanizing and can make people feel like they aren't valued as a person. Obviously, a million things were going on in that moment, and I don't think it's fair to criticize you for expressing yourself in that way. But I do think based on what you've written, she's told you with her words why she is upset, and you have not really understood her or reflected on whether that is really how you feel, or acknowledged why that would be upsetting to her. That's all for today. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.